Hi, I'm Angela Maranca with Youth Advocacy, and today we're doing our Coping with Stress workshop. So, we're going to learn different ways to identify healthy coping skills and ways to manage stress. So, we're going to start with a positive affirmation activity. So, positive affirmations are any positive things that we say about ourselves to ourselves. So, they can be things like, I am strong, I am smart, I am beautiful, I can achieve my goals, I deserve love, I deserve respect, I deserve friendship. So, anything that you can say positive about yourself. So, positive affirmations are a really powerful tool because a lot of the times what's running around in our heads can be really negative. Things that we want to change about ourselves, things we don't like about ourselves, things we feel like we did wrong. So, using positive affirmations is a great way to shift that negative thinking into positive. It also really helps develop your self esteem, and it's a great tool for coping with stress. So, for this activity, I'd like you to complete one of the following sentences. I am, I will, I can, I deserve, I know. And if you're doing this workshop with a child, a friend, a partner, have them do this as well. No matter what you say, just make sure that it's something positive. So I'll give you a moment to complete this now. So now we're going to move on to talking about stress and anxiety. So, almost everyone has experienced stress at some point in their lives. It's something that everyone has to learn to deal with and manage. And stress really looks different for everyone. Something that stresses one person out might be something that relaxes another person, or vice versa. And stress looks really different at different points in our lives. So, something that really stresses a teen out might not stress out an adult at all. So, stress is forever changing and it really looks different for everyone. So stress can cause us to make some or to feel some really strong emotions like anger, frustration, nervousness, fear. Stress can also be really overwhelming if we feel like we don't know how to deal with it. Stress can also be positive though. So there's something called good stress, and that's stress that helps us to solve our problems and motivate us, and it can challenge us in a good way. So maybe something like you have an upcoming test and you feel stressed from it. So then you study. So that's an example of good stress motivating you. And in today's culture, stress and anxiety are kind of used interchangeably, but anxiety is something a little bit different. Anxiety is feeling threatened or overwhelmed by something that you won't be able to handle or succeed in. So, this could be a reaction to feeling stress over a long period of time. So, I felt stressed about a situation and I wasn't able to handle it or I wasn't able to succeed in it. And maybe this happened a couple times. So, now when a similar situation comes up, I feel anxiety around it. And anxiety and stress, when they go unmonitored or undealt with, it can really lead to an anxiety disorder. So, today we're going to try to focus on how we can deal with our anxiety, deal with our stress before it gets to that point. So, the way that you manage stress is through coping skills. So, coping skills are the behaviors, thoughts, and emotions that you use to adjust to the changes that occur in your life. And coping skills can be proactive, so something you do to keep you from feeling stressed, so keep you in that good place, or reactive, something you do because you feel stressed. So I'm feeling stressed, so I need to use this coping skill to get me back to my good place. And using healthy coping skills takes practice. No one is really born knowing how to use healthy coping skills. Most of the coping skills that are kind of our go tos end up being a little bit unhealthy. And then a lot of our coping skills we take from our role models when we're younger. So if we have a role model that isn't really using healthy coping skills, we're not really going to know how to use coping skills either. So it's all about kind of practicing the healthy ones so they become just as easy to use as the unhealthy. And then healthy coping skills really make for good mental health wellness. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And if you don't take care of your mental health, it's really going to start to go down and deteriorate. So it's so important to keep managing it, keep using coping skills both in a proactive way and a reactive way. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about unhealthy coping skills. So these are things like avoiding. So you're physically, mentally, or emotionally avoiding stressful situations. So physically or mentally, you're just checking out. Emotionally, maybe you're not being emotionally available in a situation. Things like denial. So not even acknowledging that there's a problem, because if there's not a problem, then I don't need to feel stressed and I don't need to deal with it. Another unhealthy coping skill is escaping, so self-medicating, using any kind of prescription drugs, alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, any kind of other substance that you use in order to kind of escape the situation or use it to cope. Another example would be just fleeing the situation altogether. So whenever situations start to get stressful or strong emotions start to come up, you just get up and leave. So you try not to deal with it whatsoever. Another unhealthy coping skill is relying on others to solve your problems. So whether it be a parent, a friend, a partner, if you solely rely on someone else to fix your problems, you're never going to know how to do that yourself. And you're going to learn to be codependent because of this. So it's so important that you learn to solve your own problems. Another unhealthy coping skill is self-blame. So instead of focusing on what you can do in the situation, you think about how it's your fault and what you could have done differently. And, you put all the blame on yourself instead of trying to fix it. And self-blame can really lead to low self-esteem and depression. So now we're going to talk about types of healthy coping skills. So the first one is distraction, and this one is probably the most common. So you're distracting yourself, you're absorbing your mind in something else. And by doing this, you're giving your emotions a little bit of a break. So you're stepping away from the situation, you're distracting yourself with another task, and then you're coming back to it a little more calmer. So these are things like watching a movie, listening to music, reading a book, drawing, journaling, doing a puzzle, anything that just takes you out of the situation for a moment. Another great coping skill is grounding. So grounding techniques really focus on our body and our world instead of our thoughts. Sometimes when we are feeling really extreme emotions, it's just kind of like running around in our brain, and it's really hard to just pause and think. So grounding techniques are a great way to allow you to do that. So things like deep breathing, counting to 10, meditation, prayer. There's also different techniques around uh, you know, name everything in the room that's blue, or name everything around you that starts with the letter L. So things that take your mind off of all these thoughts and emotions you're feeling and put it into a task. Deep breathing is great for this as well, because instead of focusing on all those thoughts, you're focusing on your body, you're focusing on your breath. So grounding techniques are really powerful because not only do they help slow down our thoughts, but they really help slow down our bodies as well. So it slows down your breathing, it slows down your heart rate, so you're able to physically get calm as well. Another great healthy coping skill is emotional release, and that is physically releasing any kind of emotion. So things like crying, screaming, hitting a punching bag, you're releasing that pressure of those emotions that can feel really overwhelming. And by doing that, it really helps to bring them down a level. Exercise is also a really great emotional release. So you talked about hitting a punching bag. So if you're boxing, if you're weightlifting, you're putting that emotional energy into pushing that weight up, and you're moving that emotion, you're moving that energy into another object. Another amazing kind of emotional release is just talking about our emotions. Studies show that when we talk about our emotions, it helps to get rid of them, it helps to calm them, it helps to process them. So if I'm feeling angry and I sit and I talk to someone and tell them, I'm feeling angry and this is why, and this is everything that's going on, when I finish that conversation, I'm going to feel a lot less angry because I was able to release my emotions just by naming them. Another type of healthy coping skill that's really popular right now is self-love. So I see a lot of stuff on social media and Instagram about, self-care. There's a lot of stuff, treat yourself, get a massage, do your nails, get a haircut. So self-love is really doing anything nice for yourself. And it can be things as simple as taking a long shower, cooking a nice meal, getting a good night's sleep. For some people, self-love even looks like, today I washed my hair and brushed my teeth. So by doing that simple task, they're able to do something nice for themselves and help themselves cope with whatever they're going through. Another coping skill is thought challenge. So we were talking about this at the beginning of this workshop with our positive affirmation activity. So thought challenge is actively shifting negative thoughts into positive ones. And the whole purpose is to try to be more logical, because that will then help reduce extreme emotions. So positive affirmations, positive thinking. So try to find that silver lining. And I know sometimes that can be really difficult, but it honestly really helps you to cope with stress and relieve some of those stressful feelings just by saying something positive about the situation. Gratitude is also a really powerful tool. If you're going through a situation and you feel like everything is going wrong for you, just pause for a moment and list 3 things that you are grateful for, maybe 3 things that are going right for you. And so it helps to reduce that extreme feeling. Another type of coping skill that most people don't realize actually is a coping skill is accessing your higher self. So that's doing something kind for others. And that could be volunteering, taking care of a family member, making dinner for friends, playing with your pet, volunteering in your community garden. So anything that reminds us that, we're not alone. And a lot of the time, volunteering and taking care of others, helping others, it really helps us to reflect on our own situation. So maybe you're volunteering somewhere, uh, and those people are going through some really extreme challenges. So maybe you look at your own challenge and say, wow, maybe this isn't as insurmountable as I thought. Maybe it isn't as impossible as I thought. It also really helps us to find purpose. Things that people volunteer in, things that people do for others, that tends to be their passions. And our passions really drive and motivate us and keep us in a good place. So healthy coping skills take practice. Can't say that enough. You're not born knowing how to cope. So it's just something you have to practice like everything else in life. And then it's really important to have different types of coping skills for different situations. So something that might work for you in one situation might not work for another. Maybe if I'm feeling stressed at work, I can't cry and scream. I can't go watch a movie. I can't go exercise. So what can you do in the moment in the workplace that would help you? So it's so important to have different types of coping skills that you can use in different situations. And also, we have different levels of emotions. There's different levels of anger, there's different levels of sadness. So what can we use when we're feeling, some slight anger, maybe irritation, versus what can we use when we're feeling just rage? So it's so important to teach this in your children too, because at school, maybe their coping skills are limited. Maybe they can't watch a movie. Maybe they can't hit a punching bag. So what can they do in the moment in school? Could they journal? Could they squeeze a stress ball? Could they go talk to someone? So we have to have some kind of different cards of coping skills, if you will. Have different items in your deck that you can pull from at different situations. And then your coping skills are going to change and evolve as you change and evolve as you get older. So maybe coping skills that you used when you were younger won't work now. Maybe things that you tried 2 months ago don't work anymore for you. So it's so important to continue to try new ways to cope with your stress. So we're going to finish off this workshop with an activity. And what I'd like you to do is write down a list of 25 coping skills that you could use when you feel stress or strong emotions. So 25 things that you do already to deal with your stress, to deal with your anger, your frustration, your sadness, anything that you use, put that on a list. And if you're watching this workshop with a child, with a partner, feel free to have them write a list as well. And I'd really like you to try to put a coping skill from at least every category in your list. So a distraction, a grounding technique, an emotional release, some kind of self-love, a thought challenge coping skill, in some way you access your higher self. So something that you do that's kind for others. And once you get that list of 25 or however many you can come up with, I'd like you to write 5 down that you want to learn how to do. So 5 coping skills that you'd like to learn how to do to deal with stress. And this could be something like, I want to learn how to meditate. I want to learn how to think more positively. I want to learn how to do yoga. I want to learn how to journal. Anything that you can write down that you'd like to add to your deck of coping skills. Now, once you finish that list, I'd like you to put it on your refrigerator or somewhere in your house where it's easy to see and access. And so the next time that you're feeling stressed, or your partner is stressed, or your child is feeling stressed or strong emotions, go to that list and pick the best option for you in that moment. A lot of the times when we're feeling strong emotions, it's very difficult to kind of pause and say, I know exactly how to deal with this. I know the perfect coping skill to use to make me feel better. It really helps to have a visual reminder of all the skills that we know we have, skills that we've used before, that we know will work for us, that we can visually look at and say, okay, I can do this right now when I'm feeling sad. I can do this right now when I'm feeling stressed, when I'm feeling anger. And this is, this is what we really hope you take away. Realizing how many positive, healthy coping skills that you do have. And maybe if you feel like you don't have too many coping skills, coming up with a list of things you'd really like to learn how to do in order to help you deal with stress. Because like we said, everyone deals with stress. It's a part of life, but it's all about how we react and deal with it that can make it either insurmountable or possible to get through. So that's the end of our workshop for today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Our handle is at YouthAdvocacyATX. And please feel free to write any questions, or if you have any comments about the workshop, we always love to hear from you. So thank you all so much. Have a great day.